Hello, my name is Mr. Asprey, and this is my Edexcel IGCSE exam series 2, and this is number 12, compound interest. So if you don't know, I've split up all the 60 topics in the IGCSE into these worksheets, and you can find them on my Google Drive, and then you can watch the videos for the answers. Perfect. Now what have we got here? We've got this compound interest. So what I can do is I can do 100 plus the interest rate of 2.5% divided by 100, and that's going to give me my multiplier, and that will be 1.025. So that is what I'm going to multiply the original amount by. Now I want to do that 3 times because it's over 3 years. So rather than doing 3 multiplications, I can just use the power of 3 like this, and make sure that you just apply the power to the multiplier and not to the original amount, otherwise you'll get a huge number. So this is what we should get. It says, how much money will Shane have in the savings account? That's also important to read the question, because sometimes they ask for the interest, but now they're just asking for the final amount. So that is good to go, and that is 7753.61, which to the nearest dollar is 7753. Perfect, job done. Okay, Jane bought a new car for £18,000, and the car depreciates in value by 15% each year. So I start with 100%. Depreciates means to take away, so minus 15%, and then divide it by 100 to get my multiplier, and that will be 0.85. I then take the original amount and I multiply it by the multiplier, and I want to do that 4 times because it says what's the value of the car after 4 years. So I want to multiply by that multiplier 4 times, and we can do that using the power. So I just go to my calculator and I type in 18,000 multiplied by 0.85 to the power of 4, and there we have it. So that is 9396.11, which is approximately, to the nearest dollar, like they've asked for, 9396. Okay, next question. We've got $50,000 this time. We've got it over 4 years, and the interest rate is 1.3%. Okay, so let's start off by doing 100 plus 1.3, and then divide it by 100, and this gives me 1.013. Perfect. You can always use your calculator to do that. And it says work out how much money he'll have in his savings account. So that means that we are looking at the total figure after 4 years. So once again, we just take the original amount, we multiply it by the multiplier, and we want to do that 4 times because it's for 4 years. So we go to our calculator, we type 50,000 multiplied by 1.013 to the power of 4, and this really is very nice and easy marks to get on your IGCSE. And it says again to the nearest dollar, so that's 52,651. Bosh. Okay, next. Again, very similar question. We've got 50,000 and we're multiplying that by 1.024, and that is to the power of 3. Once again, the percentage interest, you can find the multiplier by always starting with 100, adding on the percent, and then dividing by 20, and that gives you, in this case, the multiplier of 1.024. Okay, to the calculator. Again, 50,000 multiplied by 1.024 to the power of 3, and that gives us 53,687.09, to the nearest yen, so approximately equal to this. Perfect. Okay, next question. Zai bought a house on the 1st of January. When she bought the house, its value was 120,000. The value of the house increased by 1.8% each year. So let's find the multiplier. Increased means add on. This is going to give us 1.018. Work out the value of the house on the 1st of January. So there's 3 years gap between 17 and 20. So we're doing it to the power of 3. So we take the original and we multiply it by 1.018, the multiplier, to the power of 3. This really does show how samey these questions are, but easy marks, can't complain. Yummy, yummy, get those marks in my tummy. 597.33. And then it says round to 3 significant figures, so that's 127,000. We don't need to put anything after the decimal point when you're doing significant figures, and we've already reached the 3 significant figures with the 1, 2 and the 7. Then we just follow and put the rest of the digits in 0 in order to give the number the correct magnitude. Perfect. Okay, next question. And we got 40,000 multiplied by the multiplier, so a 2% increase has a multiplier of 1.02, and that's to the power of 3 because it's 3 years. So let's just get straight into this. So that's 40,000 multiplied by 1.02 to the power of 3. It says work out the value of the investment, so we want to write out everything which is in the account, which is this. And that's perfect. That's job done. Easiest one so far. Okay, finally a question which is slightly different. We've got the starting amount. It says for 3 years, and we've got the interest rate. So we'll find the multiplier just by adding on the percentage that you're increasing it by, and then dividing by 100. And you might say, well, how's that any different? Surely we're just going to take the amount of money, multiply it by the multiplier to the power of 3, because it's 3 years, which we are going to do, but we have to be a bit careful on this one. That's why it's slightly different, because they're asking for the total amount of interest as opposed to the actual value of the account afterwards. So this is the amount in the account, but how much of that is interest? So what we need to do is we need to subtract the original amount to get how much money was made via interest. So subtract 1,800, the starting amount, and we get 2,247.552. It says the nearest rupee, so that is approximately 2248. Bosh. How exciting. Okay, next question. Chen invests 40,000 in fixed term bonds. Very sensible. Risk averse, obviously. The fixed term bond pays a compound interest of 3.5% each year. Work out the value of the investment after 3 years. Well, I mean, if you watched the video so far, you know exactly what to do. You work out the multiplier, you raise it to the power of years, and you multiply it by the original amount. So let's do that. 40,000 multiplied by this to the power of 3. And this is going to give me 44348.715, which is approximately to the nearest yen, yuan, is this. Perfect. Okay. Wang invests P1. The value of his investment decreased by 6.5% each year. At the end of the first year, the value of investment was this. Work out the value of P. Okay, so first off, the decrease, the multiplier, we're taking away 6.5% from 100, which is going to give us 0.935. So P was the original amount invested, was multiplied by this decreased multiplier, and that gave us the new amount of money in the account, which is this. So to reverse this process, we must divide the new amount by the multiplier, like so. So this is reverse percentages, and the common mistake most people make is that they, instead of dividing by the decrease multiplier, is they times by the increase of 6.5%, which is not correct. Okay, there we go. Job done. Okay, we've got a bit of context here. We've got Ali and Badia each have $25,000 to invest. Okay. Blah de blah de blah. By the end of 3 years, Ali will have more interest than Badia, but how much more? Okay, so that's important. Ali will have more interest. So we're looking at the difference in the interest. So let's start with the first one. You take your amount and you are going to multiply it by 4.5%, which is a multiplier of 1.045. Again, if you need to work out the multiplier, just start with 100. In this case, add on, because it's interest, it's going up, and then just divide by 100. And that's for 3 years. We raise that to the power of 3. Okay, so we can find that. Yep, to the power of 3. Okay, so we go 28529.15. Perfect. And then the next bank, we do the starting amount, and then it just receives this amount of interest each year for 3 years. So that's exactly how much extra money this person will get. It will always be this amount of extra interest times by 3, because there are 3 years, so we get this. Okay, and we just need to find the difference between the two, because they started with the same amount, so however much money they have will be the start amount plus the interest. So when I subtract one from the other, the start amounts will cancel and we'll just get the difference in the interest. So we take that away from 28450. Just double check I've done that right. Sounds good to me. And we get a difference of 79.15. So to the nearest dollar, that is $79. Bosh. Okay, looks like we finally arrived at a rather interesting question. Sakira invested this amount of money, $3,550, for 3 years. She was paid 2.6% of compound interest for the first 2, and then an unknown amount for the final third. And then we've got the final amount of money here in her savings account at the end. Work out the value of R. Okay, so let's set up an equation. So we're going to get our starting amount, and then we're going to multiply that by the 2.6% for 2 years. So if we start with 100% and we add on 2.6% and then divide by 100, this gives us our multiplier, which is this, and that's how much we need to multiply by to increase by 2.6%. We're then going to do that for another year, so I need to multiply by that multiplier again. We could do that just by squaring the multiplier. And then I need to multiply by something unknown. I don't know what the next multiplier is for the third year. So I'm just going to call this X. Yeah, just big capital X like that. And that's equal to how much money she has at the end, which is 3819.21. Okay, so let's simplify this equation as much as we can, because the left-hand side, we can multiply how much she started with by the first 2 years, like so. So this gives us, on the left-hand side, 3736. I mean, that's so close, we might as well just call it 3737. And that's then multiplied by x, and then this equals 3819.21. So to find x, I'm going to have to divide through by 3737, like so. Okay, so I can do that by just doing 3819.21 divided by the previous answer stored in my calculator, and we get 1.02198, which is approximately rounded 1.022. Okay, so that's x, but that's not r, because that is the multiplier, and we need to figure out what that translates to. Well, that is, if I times that by 100, that's 102.2%. So we always start with 100%, and now we've got 102.2%. This is clearly a 2.2% increase. So therefore the value of r is 2.2. Perfect. So I might, just being super pernickety, just say r equals 2.2. Final answer, bosh. Okay, final question. So it seems to me, having done this video, you either get an easy compound interest question, or it's one of these ones where you've got to work out the interest rate, which is actually quite hard. So here's another example of these harder type questions. You start with 200,000, and that's for 3 years, paying compound interest. The rate of compound interest in the first year is 1.8, and then in the second year and the third year, it's X%. So this one is harder than the last one, that's why I've put it last. And then this gives me a total value at the end of the third year, so right at the end of this amount. So let's set up an equation. First off, the interest rate of 1.8%, we can convert that into a multiplier by adding it onto 100, then dividing by 100. And this gives me 1.018. So that's the multiplier for the first year. So I take our 200,000 and I'm going to multiply it by this amount for the first year. And then the second year, I don't know what it is yet, so I'm just going to call it capital X, like this. And then for the third year, it's also capital X. We're timesing by capital X as well, so I can write capital X squared. So one for the second year and one for the third year. And this should give us our final amount after 3 years, which we're told is the yellow amount, like this. Okay, so let's tidy up the equation by multiplying the first two terms on the left-hand side together. Okay, so this gives us 203,600, and then we're multiplying that by x squared, and then that equals the new amount, or the final amount. So to find x squared, of course, we're going to have to divide through by the 203,600. Okay, great. So let's just do that on our calculator. So 209,754 divided by the previous answer was already stored, so I can just keep it in there, and that's 1.0302. Fine. Okay, so we just want x, so we need to square root. So I'm going to square root this amount. I'm going to keep it in my calculator and press square root answer because I want to make sure that I don't lose any accuracy. and I get a number which is very well rounded, which is nice because we've got loads of zeros afterwards. So for all intensive purposes, it's equal to this. And that's not the end of the story though, because that's capital X, which was our multiplier. It is not the actual percentage increase, which is what we're looking for. So if that's our multiplier, that's the decimal multiplier. If I times that by 100, that tells me the percentage, which is going to be 101.5%. So if we started off with 100%, and we've now got 101.5%, we must have increased by 1.5%. So therefore X is 1.5. That is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye for now.